Motherfucking Vince Staples, man. What's going on with Vince?
So, Vince Staples versus Noriega.
The real Noriega.
Time video entitled Rapper Vince Staples explains why the 90s are overrated. And I was born in, this is Vince Staples talking, I was born in 1993 in Long Beach, California, and I don't remember any of it because I was a baby, Staples says. The 90s get a lot of credit. I don't really know why. Biggie and Tupac, those are staples of the 90s. That's why they get the golden era credit. There's not a 50 Cent in the 90s. They don't even have a Kanye. Jay-Z's biggest song, his only number one, happened a couple years ago. In the 2000s, he was insinuating.
Yeah, 2009.
This video and article really didn't receive any attention until some hip-hop media outlets made headlines about it entitled Vince Staples thinks the 90s are overrated. XXL and like Hype, one of those other sites to be exact. And like he never really said it like
he
that.
never really said
like that's
that.
like social media. They really put him. They really put it out there for him, man, to like get some shit. And someone was really angry, a blogger probably. Vince Staples says what he feels. He said that Bow Wow, Kanye West, 50 Cent, and Lil Wayne were the artists that he listened to back in the day. Nothing wrong with that. It's funny that Bow Wow was popping. I actually
Bow Wow was that, man.
I actually bought that album, and he had a co-sign from Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, come on, man.
And Staples said that Bow Wow was one of his favorite artists ever, which is fucking hilarious. You can never tell if he's telling the truth or not and being serious, but I actually believe him there. I think.
But come on, bro. Middle school, Bow Wow, he
Bounce
was
at me,
slapping,
bounce at
man.
me.
I used to play the Bow Wow CD out the window at my house. It was crazy. It was cranking. Bow Wow, wow, yippee yo, yippee yay.
So how do you feel about it? I said I get where they're both coming from. Also, though, Vince Staples had an attitude to Noriega, like when they were tweeting. He needed to chill with that. Like they both, Noriega was being like extra nice and like extra OG.
He was. He even said, you know, I don't really beef from dudes from this era, but he just, you know, said
but
his mind.
He did say a bitter comment, like right off the bat. He didn't like add him directly, and he said like, you had to be nice to get a deal in the 90s, like taking like an old rap line, which is kind of true.
True.
Yeah, and. But at the same time, like Vince Staples definitely had an attitude when tweeting with him, and like they were like disrespectful in a way. Like they could have just talked about it more. And he's like, my N.O.R.E, like you didn't like come at me direct, you DM me or whatever, and like other things like that, and like were said, and it just wasn't good. Like you know what I'm saying?
But yeah, Twitter. You have to understand, Twitter is a stream of consciousness forum, right? So you can say 4 tweets, but it's really like one sentence in real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. At first, yeah, maybe he didn't at the guy, but that's not a big deal.
And my philosophy is too, when you're in the moment of anger, like you're gonna say some shit, you're gonna hype it up. But the next day, everything's Gucci. Like they got on the phone today, like an update. They got on the phone today, and they're cool and everything like that.
Of course,
and they
it's
talked
always
it over.
like that.
Like if you wait, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes, like if you're like in a bad mood and you wait a week to respond to someone, your feelings will change.
Yeah, but then again, it's not going to be relevant either. But
yeah,
it's
true.
It's because when you're typing to someone, you don't know how they're saying it. You just see what's being said. You can't take into consideration like any context. You don't know the tone. You don't really know anything. So you're just reading things and seeing it at face value. Right. You control people and you don't get the sarcasm. You don't get the, oh, I'm joking or I'm kind of serious. You don't get any of that. So it's easy to misconstrue anything that's being said on social media. And then Vince Staples reacting the way he did is he's just probably right into it wrong.
And like Noriega's side, like this is what he was coming from. I respect it. He was saying the culture and your elders in the game, like you know what I mean. Those are good examples of like what you should do and like where you come from in hip hop.
The 90s, you're saying?
Yeah. So like let's use comedy as an example. There would be no Eddie Murphy without Richard Pryor, and there would be no Kevin Hart without Eddie Murphy.
Yes, every generation.
Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Piggybacks on the generation before.
And I understand with Vince Staples because usually you're influenced by the history of whatever profession, culture you go in, and you study the game and learn. But Vince Staples is 22, keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And Noriega is like 38. Still young, but like it's a big difference. So I understand what he means when he said he was influenced or listened to other artists besides the 90s and that the 2000s were better. Right. Because he grew up on that. Because like when you're in middle school and in high school, that's when you get...
That's when shit that stays with you forever. Like that's the best shit.
Yeah.
And I agree. And you know I agree because I when that whole video, I was just nodding my head. I was like, he's right. He's right. Because what you listen to as a kid, and this is true for our parents too, because when they get in our cars, we can listen to the dopest Kendrick Lamar song. So true. Like every aspect of the song is true. But my mom would be like, turn that shit off. That's garbage because she hears the word bitch once. You know what I mean? You listen to music now, you may think it's trash because you're not from this era. You're just basing your opinion on shit that you heard 30 years ago.
And Vince Staples is also right because people in hip hop don't have their priorities straight. Like people are like so concerned about what do your research, but like they're not concerned about like going to college or funding a nice project or something positive in the hood that's not like hurting people and helping people instead, you know. And back to comedy, I think it's a good example because like if you, like when someone asked young comedian Pete Davidson, who's the same age I believe, he's like he was influenced by the comics Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr, and he admitted that he never watched a Richard Pryor stand up.
Fair.
And I don't think any comedian got at him, but people were probably like, "Oh shit, like you never listened to Richard Pryor, heard him." But like in hip hop, it was like a different thing. Like people come at you. Like there's always that one sour rapper that's gonna come at you.
Oh, you never heard Rapper's Delight? What the fuck?
Yeah. And truth of the matter is, Vince Staples has only been out for a hot minute. I don't even think he's really popping. Like he's not considered really popping.
No, unless you're into that.
Yet he doesn't have that. You know, he doesn't have that white crowd for mainstream success. He did talk about Jay-Z only having one number one a couple years ago. And Vince Staples has some cool tracks like Blue Suede. I used to play it on radio.
Right.
Senorita, N.O.R.E or whatever. That was a good song. It's okay. And I saw him in the Dope movie, but he really hasn't done anything super impactful. Like Noriega has definitely inspired more people in his lifetime, but obviously he has been around
over a longer period of
he's
time.
been around longer, and Vince is still considered up and coming.
Right.
But like at the same time, it's like you take the advice and you're respectful about it.
I just think he spoke from our generation's perspective.
Yeah, depending on the generation.
I mean, as you get older, like these 40-year-old rappers, of course, they're going to glorify the 90s. He didn't say it was overrated. He just said he doesn't know why it gets, that much credit.
But I think also it's so funny because he signed to Def Jam, which is one of the biggest, most influential hip-hop labels of all time. Mm-hmm. So when you sign somebody, it's almost like, in a way, like they kind of should know what's going on in that company. Mm-hmm. And like for him to say like he doesn't care in a way, it kind of makes them look bad, but they have not been credible for a while since the Trinidad James signing and all the things they've done and like the history of the music industry and how it's shit and everyone left Def Jam, like all the execs and people that.
Right.
And you could tell like it's not credible as it once was. But at the same time, like Noriega's probably made a good amount of money at Def Jam back in the day, and it's just interesting how he signed to Def Jam. But I guess bad press is good press in a way.
Yeah, I mean,
it's nothing too crazy though. It's so bad, but I'm saying like him saying about the '90s where Def Jam was like a fucking monster, an all-star team. You know?
And you can't sit here and say every rapper in the 90s was fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. You can't say that. And also, just like you can't say every rapper from today is amazing. You have your hits, you have your misses.
You can't say that every kid Vince Staples' age doesn't listen to old rap either. No, there's kids who are 90s heads, and there's kids that are listening to like Young Thug, Metro Boomin, right? And there's kids that listen to like Tribe Called Quest.
And he said that it's all really what you grew up, how you grew up, and what you see now. I don't really like the hood shit.
Yeah.
Because I've never really been in those kind of situations. I didn't really grow up in the hood. You know, I never had to sell drugs. I never had to shoot anyone. I was never in a gang. And that's why I gravitate to, those weird rappers and who, like the Gambinos of the world, And that's, it doesn't mean that I don't like, Wu-Tang or anything like that. It's just...
what I was thinking was, like, to come in, Noriega, I think, got offended and felt some type of way because he didn't, like, mention Snoop as one of his favorites, and Snoop's from that area. So, like, that is true, like, but, like, I see it as, like, you don't have to look up to someone for their music making, but, like, just their overall persona and what they did in their lifetime.
And was he going to list every single rapper?
And, like, Snoop Dogg's a good influence and experience for somebody, like, He definitely is the type of person to help young rappers, and they have a great relationship.
Always,
yeah. And he seems like a big homie, and that's the type you got to be. You can't be the guy who's hating the culture. You got to kind of blend in with it, but not like do some shit where it's like you're making songs with young people and like using them, like
to stay relevant.
Instead, like just let them do their thing and like help them out and like go on a feature or whatever and do you.
Yeah,
and I think that's what Snoop Dogg does perfectly.
He does. It's more like a mentorship. Like you see it with you saw it with Bow Wow back in the day. You see it with Wiz Khalifa. Yeah. So. I mean, he's been around forever.
So I don't think anyone's wrong here at all for having unique viewpoints.
It's all opinionated, and I guess, like, it's the same concept with the top 5 rappers. Everyone's gonna be different. Yeah. Everyone has their own different rappers. Everyone, like, that's what makes hip hop, and I think that's what makes hip hop great. Having this dialogue in this conversation. But when you shoot someone down for having an opinion, that's where I think you have to draw the line.
Yeah, the thing with him though, you never know like what the deal is, what he's gonna say. Like he takes a statement, does like a whole 180, and takes it elsewhere. Like saying some like listeners couldn't tell. Like he was saying Ray J was in his top 5, and I think he was serious on Hot 97. And also another interesting perspective, when he first started rapping, he didn't take it serious at all, and he was like, it's like, oh wow, I could get paid doing this, and let me make a career out of it then. And he made it seem like being a rapper was like a 9-to-5 job, when it's really more about like passion and things like that. But
that's not what we're talking about.
No, but I'm just saying like overall, like I was looking and it was interesting of what he was saying, so that's why I wanted to talk about it.
I think it's a great topic too. I like reading the comments, and I think a lot of people just missed the fucking point. They were like, "Oh, you disrespected the '90s, blah blah blah."
Yeah,
he didn't say that. He just said like Tyler the Creator jumped in with the coolest tweet ever. He was like, "Yeah, none of those '90s albums do shit for me," and he's one of those weird rappers that I like. I agree. Like, I didn't grow up in the '90s. Like, I mean, I did, but I wasn't faced with the same problems these '90s rappers have. Or had. So I really can't align myself to it. Whereas, if you grew up in that age, you know what was going on. Like, same thing with if you were in the Bronx, with the slumlords and shit and the Cross Bronx Expressway, like, what was going on. You know how crazy it was. But me, listening to it, I can be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. That's good history. But I didn't live that.
It's kind of weird how, though, like, they tell you to do your history, and like a lot of the rappers are successful and don't do their history. Like, personally, I think it's cool if newer artists know the history of the culture. I feel like white rappers have to in order to pay dues and be successful, because someone can already be looked at as a culture vulture.
So is that why Iggy Azalea is not popping?
No. But, like, I don't think that's right. But, like, it was cool with Macklemore. Like, I don't think it's right how you have to do that if you're white. But, like, it's cool what Macklemore did with his new single, getting the old cats involved. I'm just using it as an example. And I feel like some of the best rappers, I also was thinking about this, in the 90s, didn't even really listen to hip-hop. I remember when I was younger, that discussion would come about, like, when I was listening to, like, people who knew about hip-hop when I was younger. Lil Wayne was heavily influenced by Nirvana. Biggie listened to a lot of reggae, and Tupac liked other music as well. Like, these guys didn't strictly listen to hip hop, and like they were influenced by other music, which made them better hip hop artists.
I think.
Do you get what I'm saying?
You're right. Most prominent hip hop artists or artists in general don't listen to that one genre of music. Like, you draw things from different angles and perspectives.
Yeah, because now everyone's copying each other's music.
Like Joe Budden, for example, he really does not listen to hip hop at all. He's like a R&B guy. And you can tell by his music, because that's where he's pulling from it. And he's not really pulling from this movement that's going on in the hip-hop world. So he's not really stealing from anything. He's just creating his own sound and based on what he listens to. So I think that's super cool. And I think we're missing that.
And he also said he was not a rapper. He's a Crip. So that means he doesn't give a fuck.
Crip?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Like CRIP?
Yeah.
He said that?
Yeah.
I watched that thing like 4 times.
No, in the tweets.
Oh, in the tweets. Yeah, I don't really go on Twitter. I don't fuck with Twitter.
That's where half the discussion was happening.